Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the job market and some of the things that kind of tick me off when it comes to the job market and looking for a job. Some of the things that I've dealt with in my professional career before I became a stay-at-home dad, and some of the things that I've dealt with looking for a job afterwards. I want to talk about some of that stuff because I've been seeing a lot of help wanted signs all over the place and people saying, I can't find a job. I can't get hired anywhere. I've got kids that struggle looking for employment. And I told my oldest son, I said, look, I think you're probably filling out those applications wrong or something, and
Right.
he's like, no, I'm
Checking the wrong box.
right.
Putting
I'm
the wrong
doing it
info.
right. And so I wanted to talk today about looking for jobs and employment and stuff and how difficult it can be sometimes and just some of the bureaucracy that comes with hiring and firing and getting people in the door, training them and stuff like that. Because sometimes I do get sometimes it takes a while to train people, so they don't want to spend the money to train them if they're not going to stay. So that's one of the issues that employers come across when hiring employees.
Well, and also too, like if you're hiring a lot, like your current employees get burnout from training as well.
Oh
So,
yeah. Not only do they get burnout from training, but they feel like it's a revolving door coming in, and
and
they
they're like,
have
why
to pick
waste
up.
our time? Yeah.
Right, they're having to pick up the slack from untrained employees or not having anybody there to help them anyway. You know, like there's some jobs that requires like three people because the hiring and firing process takes so long. They may be a two-person job for a while, and then they get that third person in, and that third person doesn't like to work, or they're not as fast as the others, and so they kind of pick at each other, and
Oh, yeah.
then it becomes a disaster. And I wanted to talk about that today because in your job, in your day job, you do some hiring and firing, and you're on the human resources side, and you also handle a little bit of training as well. And I wanted to kind of talk to you and tell everybody about some of my experiences and have you tell them about some of your experiences. So let's get into it. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says that right now there is 9 million open jobs, right? And
believe
there's
it.
6.1 million unemployed people actively looking for employment. Now there's more open jobs than there are unemployed people. If we filled all of our jobs with, those people looking for employment, if we filled all those jobs with those people, we'd still have 3 million jobs left over. And approximately 30% or so of the active labor force is currently looking for a new job. So some of those people are looking for employment. Some of those people inside of the workforce are already looking for
Yeah.
employment elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think it should be a lot easier to find employment these days than it is. I have just messing around. I've applied for a few jobs that I've wanted to work at these places, obviously, or I wouldn't have put in the application. But like some of the places here in town that I've wanted to work for, I put in those applications, never hear anything back.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article a couple days ago. I believe it was Unilad. They're not really a source of news or anything, but they have some interesting stories sometimes. And there was a guy on there, he filled out like 500 applications and didn't hear anything back from anybody. And he was extremely qualified. And so that got me to thinking that's happened to me. When I was looking for a job, I fill out application after application after application, never get a phone call. And there was a period of like 9 months. I'd put in like 10 to 12 applications a day and not hear anything back.
Well, and that happened to me, 15, 16 years ago before I got my current.
And that was
Job.
before any employment crises were happening or
It was
anything
for
like
6
that.
months. I mean, I filled out applications every day and I never heard a phone call from a single one. And it wasn't like I was unemployable. Like
Right.
I had the previous jobs I had for a long period of time. I didn't call it. Like I had good references,
Right.
but didn't hear anything from anybody.
And so I kind of took that when I did get interviews, because like I'd probably filled out like 500 applications. When I did get interviews, I'm after 9 months of looking for a job in 2014, I put in several applications daily. And after 9 months, I only got like 5 interviews out of that whole time.
Yeah, and you got to think about how many other people applied for that one
Right.
job opening. You know,
And when I didn't get those jobs, I did kind of take it personal, because those are the type of jobs that I was qualified for. I had experience for. I was great at those jobs. Like there was a delivery job, delivering to gas stations. I went to the interview, and the guy seemed like he was going to hire me, and everything went well. And then I never heard back from the guy. And a couple months later, they sent me an email asking me to reapply. Yeah. And that pissed me off. And I said, well, if I wasn't good enough a couple months ago, I'm not good enough now. I'm not going to jump through all these hoops to come work for you. Why don't you send in your application to me?
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things like I frequently hear from people that I do interview is that, I applied for this one job, had an interview, and it sounds like, I was going to start, and they talked about orientation and uniforms, and they're like, it's been 3 weeks and I haven't heard a single thing.
Yeah,
from that employer.
One of our children went to an interview, and they pretty much told him he was hired, and he never heard anything back from him. And then he called them, and they behaved as if they didn't know what he was talking about, and then told him the position had been filled.
Yeah.
And I'm like you guys couldn't have told him that, or at least not led him to believe that he was going to get the job, or just be honest. Be like, hey, man, we've got 500 applicants. We pulled 12 of you in for an interview, and we've only got 2 spots. So we're going to pick out the 2 best candidates out of all of you, and we're going to give them the job. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep your application on file just in case. Why aren't hiring managers at most places more honest like that? I mean, I've heard people say that to me. Mm-hmm. I've heard hiring managers say, hey, listen, for this job, we've got like 700 applicants. Well, we only need 5 of you. So, it's like that one part in, was it Dazed and Confused? He said 50 of you are going. 25 of you ain't coming back.
Yeah. Well, and even like on LinkedIn, for job openings, it'll show you how many people have applied for that position. And just like browsing at that, like there was one position that over 7,000 people had applied for.
Yeah. And then you ask yourself,
then you look at it and you're like, yeah, I'm not even gonna apply for that. And I'm sure that's what a lot of people think is right. Like, nope. Because how am I going to be 1 in 7,000? That's the mentality.
Yeah, so. And it's kind of like a lottery. 1 out of 7,000 is going to win, Yeah. And why? Why is it like that? And so you got to wonder, how do they pick 1 application out of 7,000? And I'll tell you how they do it, especially if it's online or on the computer. The computer does the hard work. Mm-hmm. So the computer goes through a software that basically, if there's any incorrect boxes checked, it'll kick out that application. And you can set certain parameters around the job that you want. And let's just say this person's overqualified. The computer will kick that out. This person's underqualified. The computer will kick that out for you. So the computer will give you all your applications, and then you just click a button to sort through them. And then at the end, you might have 20 applications or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I know I've had people call and say, like, I just applied yesterday and it already told me, that I wasn't selected.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's because you filled out something incorrectly on your application. Like, go back through it, reapply.
Or there was a disqualifying I don't know how to say it, disqualifying answer or something like that you had given.
Yeah, like if you mark like you have a felony or you're
right,
not a certain age or something like that.
That makes you not a good candidate for the job anyway.
Yeah.
So
depending on what that job is and what you have to have to work in that position.
Absolutely.
Like a
Absolutely.
licensure or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Like I have my CDL, you know. So and some jobs you have to have a CDL just to operate a piece of machinery from, and as long as you're not, let's just say it like a backhoe, you have to drive it from one area to the other across a road.
Yeah.
You should be licensed for that.
Well, and you have some jobs that you need like a chauffeur's license,
Yes.
even though maybe you may not be driving that vehicle, but you work within that building or whatever. Everybody in that building has to have a chauffeur's license for like job rotation.
Right.
You know?
And even
So,
if you don't have any
even if you're just going to
passengers
sit at a desk or
and you're taking that,
work on a line.
even if you don't have any passengers, you're taking that bus up to get its oil changed.
Yeah.
You got to be licensed to drive it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally get there's some jobs that you do have to be qualified for. You do have to meet the qualifications for. But in my experience, I've been that qualified candidate. And I don't know how I didn't get the jobs, you know, especially like, you know, especially during a moment of hiring crises, you know, where there's too many jobs, not enough people. And I hear and see a lot of people saying, you know, nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do this. Well, you never talked to me. I came into your shop and applied and didn't get the job.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've gotten emails from people I've applied to in the past. And one specific one stands out to me. It was a company that it was a company that I was really pissed off that I didn't get the job because it was a remote job working from home, selling, you know, a product that was really like pretty much sold itself. And it was for a big company. It wasn't like a fly by night, you know, kind of deal. I don't want to shout out the company because I do know people who work there currently, not selling stuff on the phone. But this job would have been perfect for me, you know, and because I didn't have what they consider the proper experience, I didn't get the job.
Oh, don't even get me started on experience.
And then they sent me an email 2 months later asking me to reapply for the job. And I said, no, I'm not, I don't want to work for a company because they made me feel like I was going to get the job too, you know? And it was just some lady that interviewed me, and like, it was a Zoom interview. It was some lady that interviewed me. She was really nice. She made me feel like I was part of the team already. She made me feel like I answered all the questions correctly. But when it comes down to it, I just wasn't selected. And there was other people ahead of me and they got the job. And I do understand that, but I'm not going to be your court jester and do my dance for you so that you can maybe hire me. And that's why I'm not in the workforce now, is because I'm an asshole. I don't.
Well, and I hate the second interview process. Like,
Do you want an employee or not? Are you hiring?
No, because I'm telling you what, like, if you called me in for a second interview, I would be pissed off if I didn't get that job. Like, I would be livid.
Maybe not pissed off, but upset. I would take it personally. Like, you know, if they treated me right, there is a way that I would do it and not be upset. If, let's just say I was in a pool of like 10 candidates and they pulled us all in for that second interview and they're trying to whittle it down to 1 or 2 people, right? And they were honest about it. And they said, look, 10 of you are coming in. 9 of you ain't coming back. No, but you know what I mean? If they were honest about it and they came in for the second interview and be like, look, there's 10 of you. We only need 1. All of you are extremely qualified candidates, but we're going to pick the best one and we're going to roll with that. And then we're going to keep all you guys on file just in case. And then if something happens down the road, we'll pull your application, give you another second interview and not start the process all over again.
Yeah. Or say you interviewed at one time and it was a week ago and then maybe leadership changed or something. And
Right.
then you had to come in. That I get. But just coming in for a second interview, like, why couldn't you ask me these questions the first time?
Or you could email me those questions
Yeah.
and I'll send you back an answer.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing, you know, like, why is everything done? Like, there's a lot of stuff done over the phone that could be shot through an email, like they have to have your email address on the application anyway, and there's these phone calls that it's kind of like a trial interview on the phone call or pre-screen or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can ask those questions. Like if once you select that applicant, you demand them to give your email or make that a requirement and shoot them a second set of questions and see if they qualify for an interview instead of, or maybe a conversation doesn't hurt in your line of work. I mean, on the other side of looking for the job, it might be kind of aggravating, but it might be helpful for you guys to actually speak to them instead of shooting an email for them to answer.
Well, and that's what I do sometimes, especially like if you have applicants that applied 3-4 months ago. I'm calling them saying,
do you have a
sorry
job?
that it's been so long, but I'm just calling to see if you're still interested in the position you applied for.
Right, and I get.
I mean, most of them are, but there are
I
some that's pretty upset and like, no, I needed a job 4
yesterday.
months ago.
Yeah.
So,
I do get like the big giant companies that are hiring a lot at once, and then they don't get back to you, or you get that denial letter, or I understand all that. I do understand that you got 500 applicants and you only need a couple people, but it's just like I don't know how a person fills out 500 applications and never gets a call back, especially in a town this size. There's only 75,000 people that live here. Now, we do have a larger metro area. Like there's a lot of small towns around us, and a lot of those people commute here for work. Yeah. But we have a lot of massive employers here. We have a lot of factories here. And I want to get in. I'm going to talk about that later on today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to record. Finally, I'm going to record with my brother today. Hopefully, knock on wood. I want to talk about manufacturing and stuff like that, and jobs and made in America and stuff.
Well, and I think part of the problem is too, like there are a lot of positions and jobs available here where we're at, but they're not at the pay people want. And so
that's too damn bad.
Me, like when I was job searching 16 years ago, I didn't care what the pay was. I just needed a job. So I applied for everything because it was better than no income. Like I had nothing.
Right.
So
yeah. Something is always better than nothing.
I took a job for $8.71 an hour 16 years ago.
Well, that's like now. Right now, if I went out, I could go work anywhere. Yeah. Anywhere. I could go work and get a nice wage, what I would consider a nice wage at a gas station.
Yeah.
That's so awesome now. And I tell you what, I don't need, $20 an hour at a gas station. I don't need it. But these days, like I would absolutely go work at a gas station for what they're paying now. Yeah. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with what they're paying, but they're not paying anything like, you got your factory pay. It's over $20 an hour now. When I was working, I was hot shit making $18 an hour. Yeah. Remember?
He was rolling in the
dough. Like I remember when I got that raise, I'm like making $18 an hour. I mean, it wasn't like obviously union labor was making more than I was, obviously, but I didn't have to pay anybody out of my checks. Yeah. And my insurance was low, and my checks were over $1,000, because I'd put in a lot of overtime, To me, that was a lot of money. Nowadays, I can go to a gas station and get a job for like $14 an hour. And I'm like, it's not a whole lot of money, but it's just a gas station. You don't have to know anything to work there.
Yeah.
You
don't need any experience.
Right. Not any experience. I don't need to have any special licenses. I don't have to use any of the skills that I've gained over the years. And I am a skilled worker. I do have a lot of knowledge and skills, and I've got a lot of I've got licenses and certifications and stuff like that would help out pretty much in any factory setting or construction setting. And which is why it's so perplexing why people treated me like I was dumb at my longest job I ever had. People treated me like I was dumb there. I just made them, they're going to think that. I'm going to let them believe it. I didn't do anything to fix that. But and now some of those people see me nowadays and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm actually holding a conversation with them. They're like, "What the hell happened to that guy?" Well, it was I took a long weekend in the woods, did a lot of thinking, and decided I'm not going to go back to work. A lot easier ways to make money nowadays than to slave away for somebody that's not going to treat you right.
Well, and even after you left that job, like you had people, seeking you out because you had a particular set of skills that they.
You make it sound
wanted.
like that movie Taken with
Yeah.
Liam Neeson. I've got a particular set of skills, which I do. I'm extremely skilled, but now they have. It's actually kind of weird because they have machines now that can do the job that I was doing, and they can do it better than I was doing it. And so I thought it was really neat because a buddy of mine helped design those machines. And it was he put us out of a job, but now to drive by those machines and be like, "Look, I had something to do with that," that's really neat. And it's not really, you don't have to be a specialty kind of person to do it anymore. And
Well, I see that when I go by one and there's somebody just sitting there playing on their phone.
yeah, I mean, that's basically what I did, for X amount of years because so I operated a horizontal directional drill for a number of years, and it was drilling through rock pretty much. And depending on the conditions, it could take an hour and a half to go 10 feet, so sometimes, depending on how hard the conditions were that you were in.
Especially when there's pine trees.
Oh yeah,
right?
when there's those not pine trees, it's evergreens.
Oh, yeah,
Any type of
evergreens.
evergreen tree, there's a lot of rock in the ground. So I would operate those, and sometimes it took forever to do my job. So sometimes, pull out the phone or whatever. But we weren't. There came a time where we weren't allowed to do that anymore because there was people that abused it.
Yeah.
So, thank you to those people.
Yeah,
I may have
that's
been
still
one.
an issue in other jobs. So
But no, I loved that job. It just I didn't like the way I was treated for part of it. But I made great money, and that's what the thing is nowadays. Is it doesn't really matter where you're going. The minimum wage here where we live is $12 an hour, and the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. I don't know anybody that can live off that, but that's what or is it $7.50 an hour? It's something like that.
yeah, it's in that $7 range.
It's below $8 an hour, and I don't know anywhere in this country that you can live for $8 an hour. I mean, where we live it's extremely cheap. It's cheaper than the national average to live here. I think it's like 9% cheaper to live here, something like that. But we don't live in a highfalutin area either. It's not. But
Falutin.
housing,
What's that word? Falutin.
I don't know. I heard it one time. Actually, I used to hear it a lot when I was a kid. Highfalutin. It kind of means high on the hog, or like a high class joint. We don't live. We live in. We don't need. This isn't even upper middle class. Our neighborhood. It's kind of like, this is kind of where people live when they get their first homes.
Yeah.
This is a starter home neighborhood. So it is middle class, but it's working class. A lot of working people in our neighborhood.
Veterans. We have a lot of veterans in our neighborhood.
Yeah, we do. We got a few cops in our neighborhood. So I mean, it's nice, but it's not. It's not lifestyles the rich and famous nice.
No.
But you still need more than $8 an hour to live here. I don't think we can make it on one
Especially
income.
all these houses around here on gas.
Yes. Like we don't have a gas hookup, but I mean, if we did, it probably wouldn't be that much.
Yeah.
Because everything's electric here. But anyway, it's not in this neighborhood. You couldn't live for $15 an hour. One single income, $15 an hour couldn't do it.
No.
But the majority of our income you bring in, and so if I was working at a gas station for like $15 an hour, it'd be gravy,
We'd be living high on the hog.
Absolutely. I could do that. And that's what's so surprising nowadays is like when I was looking for employment, I couldn't find employment and it took forever. And then when I did find employment, it was questionable pay, questionable, labor. All I needed was somebody to take a chance on me. I'm a good employee. You work with me. Like, would you hire me?
Yeah.
After knowing what I could do and how my skills were and how, especially with my people skills, I don't work around people when I'm with you, but every now and then I get stopped and I get in a conversation, and I can talk to anybody about anything. I can talk to, let's say it's the lowest person on the rungs, they're having a terrible day. I'd sit and help them out and say, hey, I'd smile with them and joke with them, hopefully make their day a little better. Or I could talk to the president of the company. Doesn't matter to me,
Well, and like speaking of that, so, I like to tell people like, I can teach you a skill, but I can't teach you personality.
I like that.
So when I want to hire somebody, that's what I look for. I look for like, what kind of personality does this person have? Can this person interact with
Other
this
people?
certain population and this certain population
Right.
of people that they're going to encounter in their day-to-day activities? Because, people like using, proper language and having manners and talking to people in a way that they're going to understand what you're saying.
Right.
I can't teach that, but I can teach a skill
Yeah.
to people, so
Yeah.
think about that when you're going to interview for a job. Like, to me, it's not about the skill. It's about your personality. Now, you don't want to get me on a soapbox about experience, about how if you apply for this job, you have to have experience. But how are you going to get experience?
Let's get
if
into
you don't
that.
get a chance?
Hey, let's get into it. I want to get you started on that because we've ran into that issue with one of our children. And well, that just so happens to be the same child I was talking about earlier. He had applied for an employer. It's a local company, but they're not. I think it's a Japanese company, to be honest with you. But they've been local for forever. And he went to this company, put it in his application, got an interview, and they were straight up honest with him. And they said, "Look, we can't hire you. You don't have enough experience. Go get 6 months experience, come back, and we will hire you." Where the hell is he supposed to get the 6 months experience? Because this place is the only place that does what it does within an hour's distance from here.
Yeah.
And those other places aren't going to hire him either.
Well, and it's just like, you go to college and you go to college for this particular profession, and then nobody wants to hire you because you don't have experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What are we doing?
What is the point in going to getting the education? Because by the time I find a job in the education field that I chose, I'm unemployable.
Yeah. And so now I got to start down here, right? After, I went to college.
Which is expected anyway. You
cost
should
me
expect
all
to
this
start.
money, but I'm gonna take this job down here making $8 an hour to try to get this job up here making $30 an hour. It's gonna take me 5, 6, 7 years to get, but I just went to school for 4 years.
Right.
It just doesn't make
And
any
you've
sense.
actually ran into that issue where you were not necessarily, you weren't the applicant, but you've ran into that issue where you've run into applicants that are extremely overqualified.
Yeah, but they just
And-
can't find a job.
Right. And then you hate to be that one to be like, I can't hire you either. You hate to be that person, but then you see like extremely overqualified candidates, and then you talk to them, and what do they say? They say every job I come across, they tell me I'm I'm overqualified. Don't tell them those qualifications, man. Your resume and your application, you don't have to put everything on there, and there's no way for them to go and check. There's no, unless they work for the damn IRS, there's no way they can go and find out your...
Because most employers aren't going to go back and check, unless they're like a small mom and pop type place. Most corporations, organizations aren't going to go back and check.
As a matter of fact...
Nobody's going to go call Arby's and see if, John Smith worked there in 2005.
Yeah, and they might, but they're not going to get an answer because the people at Arby's are really busy and they're going to answer the phone and be like, what? Who? I don't know who you're talking about, but I got to go.
Yeah. Well, and I think legally too, they can only tell you like, yes, they did work this date to this date. They can't tell you why they got separated or why they left.
I mean, I do understand it. And I've had to explain that to a couple people. Like, look, your past employer, like, I know you don't want to put that on there because you were terminated or whatever, but you can. Like, they can't call your new employer and like tell them all this bad stuff about you that's illegal. And even if you did do all that stuff that they want to tell the other employer, they cannot tell them.
Yeah.
They can't tell them anything bad. Like, I mean, they can tell them why you were terminated, and some of your, there's a lot of questions they can ask and get answered. There is, but there's a lot of questions that would prevent you from getting a job. They can't tell them.
Yeah, I think some of those questions that they can't ask is like, how well did this person work with others?
Right. Yeah.
Were they punctual?
Right.
Like,
so
that sort of thing.
And so when you put that on the application, most prospective employers are just going to call and verify employment. They're not going to ask any other questions. But I don't even actually, I've never ran into a job that actually did that.
Yeah, like I've had somebody that used to work for me use me asked if they could use me for a reference for another job at a factory here in town. And they did call me, and she did ask me like 3 questions.
Right,
and one of those was, how well do they work with others? Did this person work for you this date to this date? And then there was like one other question, but they weren't actually calling my place of employment to talk to me. They were calling my personal phone because that person used me as a reference.
Yeah, personal reference. So. And that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. There is a huge difference between a personal reference and a professional reference. Don't be writing personal references on your applications unless they ask for personal references.
Yeah, I've never had anybody put me down that didn't ask my permission.
Like on the
that
job,
I know of.
Like on the job applications, even the paper ones, you used to have to write out references, even on the paper ones. They're not asking for personal references. You're not renting a couch or something. They're asking you for professional references, like people that you've worked with, people that you worked with previously that you're now friends with, old bosses that you liked. Those are the type of references they're asking for. They don't care who your friend Bobby they really don't want to talk to your best friend of 25 years and find out what kind of person you are, because your best friend's going to lie to them, and they know it.
Yeah.
So they're asking for professional references, not personal.
Yeah.
So I ran into that issue a few times. Like, who do I write down for references? Because in the jobs that I've done, I've mostly worked alone, and so I didn't really have any professional references. And then the older I got, the more I was able to use people like former supervisors, and I actually had a couple of the personal phone numbers, and I reach out and say, hey, can I use you as a professional reference for job applications? Oh yeah, go ahead. I don't think a single one of them has ever gotten a phone call, but I listed people that I have worked with and that have experience working with me, because my friends don't know what kind of like work history I got. And, it'd be like putting my buddy in a bad spot if I wasn't the candidate that they were looking for, especially if that buddy happened to work there, and I gave that person a bad name. That's not good, so be aware of that too. If you're riding on your buddy's coattails, don't sully their damn name. Don't go and use somebody as a professional reference at the place where they're working and fuck them over. Don't do that, because then you're putting them in a position where they're going to lose there's a possibility they could lose their income because of you, and I don't like that.
Don't mess with my money.
That's right. And I tell people, I've told certain people that, do not, you can kick me in the head if you want to, do not mess with my money. There's 2 things in this world, in my world, you don't mess with. That's my family and my money. I can't replace my family, and I don't have much money. So hey, don't cost me a bunch of money. So, and specifically my children, my older children, I've told my oldest son that numerous times. Hey, the worst thing you could do to me is cost me money because I ain't got any, and everything else we can deal with, but I'm not about to go to jail because I can't afford, to pay your bill or something like that. That's not going to happen. Just don't cost me money. But, yeah, looking for employment and writing people down as references and stuff, 9 times out of 10, those employers aren't going to call those references. But in the off chance that they do, use professional references. Try not to sully your friends' names. If you're a shitty worker, be honest with that friend when you're asking them for a reference. Be like, man, I don't have the greatest work history, but I want to use you as a reference. I guarantee you they're going to either say, nah, I don't know, or they're going to tell you no.
Yeah. Like I like, when people put references on applications, I was like, okay, well, they took the time to do that. Like, they didn't just, throw this resume together and just put some information on it. Like they have references and that sort of thing. Like they actually take the time to put together a good resume.
Which my resume looks awful because I haven't worked in 10 years. And before that, I had steady employment. And so it wasn't like I had a bunch of jobs. I'm almost 40 and I can count on 2 hands how many jobs I've had, which, okay, one of those jobs was a temp job that I had multiple jobs. I'm thinking about going back to that because I think it'd be kind of fun. But
this is research.
Yeah. Well, I just for the fun of it, just one day a week, maybe, I think it'd be kind of fun. I'll take you guys along for a ride and, tell you exactly how it went. And today I worked at so-and-so and.
Yeah. Well, I've had, probably 4 jobs since the age of 16, and I'm almost 40.
Right. And that's part of the problem too, is employment history. When you look at applications, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to put that whole history on there, especially if it makes you look bad.
Yeah. Like, when people have had 10 jobs in the past 4 years.
Yeah, if you've had 10 jobs in the past 4 years, take the 5 best ones.
Yeah, and you can't figure out why you're not getting a job and you've applied at all these places. Maybe you should look at what you're putting on your application. Because even if if you can't put your address in the correct format on an application, the employer may look at that. Or
I've heard that one actually.
You fumble up the phone numbers like that. I see that a lot. Where the area code around here is 816.
Right.
It'll say 861.
Right. And
so it's like, okay, I have to figure that out.
Right.
Or I have had a situation where it was really the right area code. And
you thought it was the wrong one.
And the right email address, because a lot of communication is through email, especially like if, they aren't going to consider you at this time or they found another candidate.
Right.
And then you're blowing up the phone saying like, I haven't got any communication from you guys. Well, you have, like, everything's electronic.
Check your email.
Make sure your email address correctly are on there correct. And then also make sure you have an email address that is appropriate for applying for jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, maybe that's just my thing, but I look at some email addresses and I'm like, fat baby girl 24 at yahoo.com. Like, I'm not using that as a real email, but like, that's the stuff I see. And I'm like, like I know that I used to have an old email address when I was a kid.
I've had my email address for like the last, I don't know, it's been over 20 years I've had the same email.
And I have another email address for professional things.
Let's not talk about that. So on Gmail, I got like 3 different emails. I got the business email, I got my personal email, and then I got some other email that somebody gave me. So, and I don't use any of them, really. Yeah. Like the one I use the most is a business email, and don't. It's just, don't
don't go through applications filling it out really fast. You need
Yeah,
to slow down. Take your time. Make
yeah.
sure you're doing it correctly. Double check it before you hit that submit button, because that could be what's hindering you from getting a phone call for a job.
But I have noticed there's also timed applications where if you
Yeah.
don't fill out those applications in time, they won't tell you to just kick out your application.
Yeah.
That's kind of stupid too. But at the same time, you know, when you got one job and you got 7,000 applications, like
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah.
Like what do you do in that situation? How do you sort through all that stuff by hand, you know? And like where you work has a department that handles that, you know? Like, but a lot of places don't.
Yeah. Well, and also, you know, now that everything is online, electronic, and there's not a lot of paper applications, you can't just pound the pavement going to look for a job a lot anymore.
That stinks, man, because I remember before I lost my job that I was at the longest, before I lost that job, I had, it was paper applications. And I was able to go pound the pavement. And if I spent 40 hours, you know, if I spent the time looking for a job as I would have working a full-time job, like 40 hours, and I'd be employed by the end of the week. And that's usually what my experience was. And I told my boy that. And
Yeah.
he like my oldest son, it took him like 6 months to find a job after putting in application after application after application. And it used to be to where I could go get a paper application, fill it out, you know, and people would see my face. People would see, you know, hey, I've seen that guy walking back and forth between here, looking for jobs, putting in application. He's been doing that for a week now. Let's pull him in here and hire him.
Yeah.
You know, it
Or
used
call,
to be that
call
way.
to follow up on your application. That shows initiative, you know, that you really are interested
Then
in it.
again, it's 2024. I've ran into the issue where one of the people I told to do that ran into the issue. He was annoying people. And I didn't know what to say to that because they want people to work. They want people to show initiative and everything. And then when you do, they don't hire you because they think you're annoying and I just told him, I was like, most places aren't like that.
No.
You know, this one place might be assholes or something like that. But like most places, if you call over and over again, tell them you want a job, they're more likely to pull you in. And, you know, if you irritate them enough, they're more likely to pull you in for a interview because they know you're serious. They know you want a job and they know that you're actively looking. And, one question during interviews, we talk about this. We talk about one of the questions during the interviews that I freaking hate is, why do you want to work for this company? Or why do you want to work here? Like, what difference does it make? Do you need somebody or not? Because I just need a freaking job. Like, especially if it's a place where you, like, a gas station. Why do you want to come work for, what's a gas station? Phillips 66. Why do you want to come work for Phillips 66? Because I'd like to retire here. Then, you know, it's like you're full of shit. Nobody wants to retire from Phillips 66. You know what I mean? Like, what do you tell the people?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to come work here? Oh, I have nothing better to do. No, I need money. I need a job. And I applied with you so I could come work and earn a paycheck. That's what I want.
Well, I asked that job. I mean, I guess it's appropriate, like, in only certain situations. Like, I asked that job because if people are like, oh, you know, like, I want a foot in the door and I want to go back to school, you know, then okay, then I can segue into talking about educational benefits, you know, and opportunities, that sort of thing. But I guess it would only be appropriate in certain situations, you know.
I know people could see that. Hopefully they couldn't hear it.
But, you know, back to online applications. So with COVID, a lot of baby boomers retired early at age 55.
And you know why? It's because they couldn't find employment.
And so now, well, I think it was more that they were just scared of COVID.
No, I don't think so, because I talked to a lot of them. I talked to a lot of people. Like, I talked to some baby boomers, and they were like, hey, nobody will hire us.
Well, they took early retirement because so if they took early retirement,
Oh,
they were already
okay,
working.
okay, yeah. If they took early retirement, yeah.
Yeah,
But how
at
many
age
people
55.
lost their jobs during that whole thing because of shutdowns and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And then how many people didn't go back to work because they didn't know how? Like, how many people lost their jobs during all that because simply because the place shut down
Yeah.
because they lost so much money or they went bankrupt or the government forced them out or, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people, a lot of boomers that lost their job during that whole thing that never went back.
Yeah. Well, the problem with the online applications is if you had this generation of workers that had worked at a place for 20, 30 years
Yeah.
and they retired and now they're wanting to get back into the workforce, they're like, how do I navigate this online system? You
Right.
know? And then they get frustrated because they're like, I put my application in like 20 times and I don't have anything that says their name on. Like nothing's coming
And,
up.
there's some things, some of them programs and stuff that are just unnecessarily difficult. So yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times we have people that come in and somebody from the HR department helps them fill out the application. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
because even the required documents to get started, like your tax documents,
Right.
all that stuff is all
Oh,
electronic.
yeah, it's all electronic these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they send it to your email.
Yeah.
So,
Which is it's okay for people like us that grew up, like I had a PC from 1992 onwards. I was like 7, so I grew up with computers. I grew up with, now it's kind of gotten to where I'm half-assed computer illiterate because I've been using a cell phone for like 12 years. But now that I've got the computer back and, we're using a PC for the show, having to use a laptop and navigate around, it's coming back. And it's really changed in, like, what was that, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
It hasn't really changed in 30 years. Like, Windows is still the same thing. Like, we went from Windows Vista or something to Windows 10, right?
isn't there like an MS-DOS or I don't know.
I ran a computer off
Something like that,
MS-DOS.
yeah.
Like
I think I played the Oregon Trail.
now we had an operating system. It was like we had Windows or whatever, but there was a section where you could go back into MS-DOS and actually work. And a long time ago, before I was like 12, I could do things like that. My mom showed me, and I couldn't do it nowadays if you asked me to. But it's starting to come back. I can navigate a computer now, whereas when I first got this PC behind you, it was very intimidating. Like, just turning it on, I was like, "What the hell am I looking at?"
I just make you anxious by clicking.
Yeah, because you over-click. You're like, click, 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 click. And I'm like, hey, hold on a minute. It's thinking, give it a second. And I've seen, like, you remember those old mouses with the roller balls in them? Like, we don't have one of those. It's got a laser in it. And I've seen you beat on the, take the mouse and slap it on the mouse pad, because it was slow or whatever. And I'm like, hey, it doesn't have a roller ball in it. It's laser. So, banging on the table is not actually doing anything. So, we've had our issues with computers and stuff, but for the most part, they haven't changed in like 30 years.
Yeah.
So the people that don't know how to operate computers, it's probably because they haven't taken the time to operate one in the past. And, now that it is intimidating when you open them up now because there's a lot more information. The screens are brighter even.
Yeah. Well, and going back to even, when we briefly talked about training, when you have a new job in training, like
Yeah.
a lot of training now requires online
Yeah.
training lessons too. And
Or
so
maybe not even online, but like computers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the older population of employees struggle with that. And we,
Yeah.
we've experienced like them quitting before they even get started because they're like, if I
Yeah,
gotta
it's too
use the
frustrating.
computer
Yeah.
at this, like, no, like, I just want to work. But
Right.
it's like, I'm sorry, but this is a requirement of everybody here
Right.
to do this. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate that they leave because of that.
Yeah, I run into that issue sometimes, like, depending on what the job is. there are some jobs where I just want to go in and work. I just want to be left alone, go in and work. And unfortunately, there are jobs out there that you want to do that, but you have to be a team player at the same time. And I am a team player, but I do my best work when I'm alone and don't have to deal with inconsistencies of other employees, or, like especially working with friends. I don't like working with friends because we don't get anything done, and so a lot of the times when you're, dealing with people on the job, the people that I get along with the best are the older people.
Yeah.
And it's because they go to work.
It's their work
To
ethic.
work.
Yeah.
They go to work, and they're no nonsense. Hey, we're here to earn a paycheck just like you.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of good people because they don't know how to do stuff, and you don't have, like you have the patience to sit down with someone and help them. And how many places don't? Or how many places would see that person struggling on a computer and be like, get rid of them, fire them. They're out the door. They can't operate a computer. And that's why those people get frustrated and leave. Number one, they don't want to look like an idiot. And it's because, just because you don't know how to operate a computer the most proficient way doesn't make you an idiot.
Yeah.
I can barely operate my cell phone sometimes. When I get a new update, there's sometimes it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, and I always make sure, like, during that interview process, I'm explaining that part to them. Like, part of the job requirements is that you have to be able to operate the computer.
Yeah, but don't worry, we'll help you.
Yeah, that's why I said, we help everybody. And then also we use a device, that electronic device, to do your job every day.
You guys, you and your other managers at work, I've heard some stories about how you've helped some people that I don't know if we can talk about this. If we can't talk about it, you can cut it out. Some people at work, the language barrier. And it makes me so happy because these people want to work.
Yeah, and we miss a lot of good opportunities for people that there is a language barrier. If you just do this little fragment of work, like,
Right.
they are great.
Right. And it's not
Employees.
anything that your employer told you to do. It's not anything that they do themselves. It's you and a couple buddies.
Just thinking outside the box of how can I help this person be successful and give them the opportunities that I have.
Right. And it was very inspiring to see that and to hear you telling me about these stories. And that's why hearing these things, it just, it makes me proud of you and proud of the people that you work with. And because that is what this country was made of, people like that. We all, sometimes you don't have to speak the same language to get shit done. And that's the bottom line is some of these folks are just regular ass people. They don't speak the same language, And so you guys figured out a way to talk to them. You guys figured out a great way to communicate. And now those people are showing other people with that language barrier. They're like, hold on a minute, I got this. And then they're showing other people.
Well, and it's sparking interest in people to learn
other
their
languages. Yeah.
Because I've had people come up and say, like, I talked to so-and-so and, like, I told them, because you can see that they're picking up more English.
Right.
And they said, well, now you're going to have to teach me your language, And I think that's great because it's not like,
which if they can learn English, it's like English is one of the hardest languages to learn.
Yep.
So, and if it's not your first language, it's very difficult to go from your first language, which is very simple, elegant. Lots of times the simple ones are the most elegant. The simple, elegant language to one of the most difficult languages to learn on the planet.
Well, and
I think Swahili might be more easy to learn than English,
Yeah, like I would butcher that. But, I just hope that seeing this
If I just
sparks-
said something offensive in Swahili, I'm sorry.
I just hope this sparks some initiative to, create a more diverse,
Well,
what's the word? Like the opportunities for non-English speaking people
Right.
to
And now you can't use DEI,
get a job.
diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can't use that, but you don't have to use that when we're talking about like jobs such as the ones we're talking about. Just employment in general.
Yeah.
And the language barrier doesn't have to have anything to do with immigration or anything. I know people have lived here their whole lives that can't speak English.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
The United States has no official language. Our official language is not English. The United States does not have an official language for a reason. We are a country built up of immigrants.
Like I wish I knew another. Like I can speak some Spanish, but and a little bit of French. Not much
I could
French.
speak some elementary Spanish, yeah.
But I wish I was fluent in another language, because I feel like being bilingual gives you more opportunities than just being siloed to one language.
I like to know what the hell everybody's saying. If I'm watching a news clip of somebody speaking another language and it's dubbed in English or it's subtitled, I have this thing where I don't necessarily believe what's being told to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that
really what
accurate?
they're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with like foreign leaders. We just use Xi Jinping as a example. He's what do you call it? He's the dictator of China. He says president, but he's clearly a dictator. But we'll use him as an example, like if he's speaking, to his country, and it's dubbed in English for our country by our people, our government. How do we know what the hell he's really saying? I don't know Chinese.
Right.
Which since, the Russia-Ukraine war's been going on, I've been watching, Russian state TV and everything, so I could get a kind of sense of what they're saying. So after a couple of years of that, you kind of get it, you kind of understand what they're saying, because it's not that different. It's not that much different from English. German's the same way. German's not that much
Sounds
different.
angry.
It does, but it's not that much different from English. So like when you're listening to them speak, some of you can understand just because it sounds like English. And then you look at, that is what they were saying. So I've gotten a little bit of that, but still you don't know what the hell they're saying. You don't know if you're being told the truth. And that does bother me. So that's why I want learning, other languages.
Yeah.
Is so I know, like, are they telling me the truth? And language barriers and stuff like that. You've shown a lot of people some programs and stuff. And I think you learned that from a non-English speaker, right? We'll just tell everybody what it is. It's like Google Translate, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing with Google Translate is I knew about Google Translate, because when I was taking college Spanish,
Right. Well,
I was using it a lot.
I've known about Google Translate for years. I mean, like you just type in something in Google, Translate to, and then that was Google Translate. That's what I thought, but it's a whole big thing now.
Yeah. Like you can, open up the camera on it and go over a document in English and it'll translate it in any other language.
You did tell me about
and
that.
like real time,
I
like
forgot.
you just roll it down it and it translates it. Yeah.
That is cool. I like that.
And then like you can type it, like type whatever you're in English and then like push a button and it'll say it in Spanish. Like it won't just like translate it. It'll actually say it. So you can say it to that person in Spanish and they don't have to read it. So
that's neat. I forgot you were telling me about that the other day. That is really, really cool. And I have that function to be able to do on my phone. Like anybody can do it.
Yeah. Cause like I ended up downloading the app just so I had that as a communication tool. If that employee came to me, I could quickly pull it up and communicate.
Well, so we've got the border crisis down south in Texas there, and there's a lot of immigrants coming in. Now, the big argument here is a lot of people think that the right side, like Texas and the 25 other states that are with Texas, are wanting to stop people from coming in. That's not the case. They don't want to stop people from coming in. They want to stop people from coming in illegally. If you come in the right way. That's what they're saying. And I agree with that. I agree that we need to vet every single person coming into this country, especially right now, because of all the concerns with terrorism and all that stuff. Now, since we are experiencing a mass migration, okay, there's going to be a lot of people that in this country, everywhere, not just in Texas, because in Texas, they're bussing them out to wherever they need to go. Wherever these immigrants want to go, like say New York, they want to go to New York, that's where they're going. They want to go to Kansas City, they're coming to Kansas City. They want to go to Detroit, they're going to Detroit. They want to go to California, that's where they're going. So on and so forth. Now, most of those people probably don't speak English. So we've got a mass migration coming in. Millions of people that don't speak English. So that may be something important to tell everybody. Google Translate, everybody. It works text to speech, speech to text. Like you said, you can read documents or you could write down on a piece of paper what you're trying to relay, and then, photo translate or whatever that's called. You could absolutely do that. And let's remember to be nice. And
we're all on this big ball of dirt together.
That's right. And so one thing really bothers me that people do is, let's just say you don't speak English, and I know that you don't speak English, and I'm talking to you in English, and I raise my voice.
Oh my gosh,
to try to get you to understand what the hell I'm saying. Like, it still sounds foreign.
Yeah.
It's just loud foreign shit to you.
Yeah, so it's got to make me tell a story, right? And so it reminds me of when I was younger, I had a great aunt who unfortunately she had got throat cancer and her voice box was removed. And so, I mean, she didn't like to use the thing that puts to her neck because, of course, it makes her sound
you sound like
funny.
this. Yeah.
And so we had one of those, you write on flip charts and it erases it, And so a lot of times she would write down what she wanted to say to us or whatever.
And somebody yelled back to her.
Yeah. So it was just her voice that was affected. So I remember one time she was sitting there and she wrote down, "Ashley, will you go to the other room and get something?" And so I was motioning with my hands and using sign language, and she looks at me.
I'm not deaf.
And then she says, "I can't speak. I'm not deaf." And I just thought it was the funniest thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I had to think about that. Just because she couldn't talk didn't mean she couldn't hear.
Right.
And so, yeah, but that's what drives me crazy. When people speak another language, you talking louder to them in English is not going to help them understand you.
Yeah,
so
but
stop
I have
it.
people do that to me, especially the 14-year-old in the house.
Oh yeah, he tells us we need hearing aids.
He comes in and starts explaining something to me, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he'll repeat himself, and I'm like, again, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he'll repeat himself one more time, and I'm like, you saying it over and over again is not helping me understand what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so that's just one of those, let's have patience with everybody, no matter.
Especially our older generation of folks, they're really bad about talking louder to those that don't speak English as their primary language. And I'm probably giving them the death stare as they're doing it. What are you doing?
Right.
Maybe I'm woke or something. I don't know. But it just drives me crazy.
I've actually seen people yelling at deaf people. It doesn't matter how loud you get. They can't hear you.
Right, yeah. And I know if somebody's hearing impaired, I just need to look at them while I'm talking to them.
Right. Well, I watched that movie with, what was that movie? Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Hear No Evil, See No Evil.
Yes, that movie's hilarious. But yeah, that taught me that. And that movie's older than I am.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite other movies. So.
Yeah, I absolutely. And try to have patience with everybody, and especially with the non-English speakers, because we got a lot of them coming in, and I know some people won't like that, but get over it. It's not the legal ones. It's the illegal ones. It's the ones that came in illegally that we don't know who the hell they are. That's the only thing I've heard people complaining about. It's not a bunch of people coming in. It's not the mass migration. It's that we don't know who's coming in. And right now that's scary. It is really scary because we got a lot of bad shit going on all over the world. And not everybody has the best of intentions. We like to think that they do, but not everybody does. So we kind of need to watch out for ourselves. I get it, but be nice, be patient, because one of the things that we're having difficulties in the United States is finding enough workers. Like I was just telling you at the beginning of this podcast, we got 9 million open jobs and only 6 million people looking, so that's 3 million open jobs. 3 million open jobs. That's a lot of jobs, and we've got to, with more coming on the horizon, because the United States fell out of the manufacturing, center of the world, if you will. And now we're not that. And we're trying to build that back up. We're trying to onshore our jobs again. We're trying to bring those manufacturing jobs back.
Well, and we have an aging population.
Absolutely.
Too, as well, that's going to retire
That's
soon and be out of the
another
workforce.
reason why we need immigrants. We need workers. We need people.
Then we have,
don't be mad.
Our younger generations aren't having 6 to 8 kids. So, we're going to have a gap. We're going to have a gap there with workers as well. So it's just going to get worse, the amount of open jobs compared to those actively looking for work.
Okay. It's okay. We need... one thing that we need in this economy, in growing up, and a lot of kids coming up nowadays, what we need those kids to be is engineers.
Yeah.
United States needs engineers. It's never too late to go back to school. Ashley went back to school when she was 30, so it's never too late. And tech school don't take that long.
No.
It only takes, I think an engineer degree. You can get a 4-year engineer degree at a tech school. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to go to a big name school. Any tech school. You can learn to be an engineer, and we're short engineers. Engineers, yes, they do work with their hands. Sometimes they got to work laborious work. But most of the time, being an engineer is a pretty chill job. And if any young people are listening to this, go to school, be an engineer. We are short on engineers. So
it's good money.
Not only is it good money, but it's job security. Think about all the automation coming in to United States manufacturing. Think about all the young people coming up that don't actually want to work the labor jobs. That we're still going to need them to work.
Yeah, and so many kids nowadays are so tech savvy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it'd be perfect.
Oh, yeah. Engineering, robots, a software engineer, robotics engineer, utility engineer, city planning, all kinds of stuff. We need those people. And it is a hard job mentally, but, you don't have to... You don't have to scoop dirt with a shovel, So be an engineer.
Bananas.
Cheech and Chong. Yeah. You can start off with these strawberries and work your way up to these goddamn bananas.
Bend and scoop.
Bend and scoop. More coffee. Oh, I love coffee. Speaking of coffee, this I spent a long time looking for this damn coffee. I went to 3 different stores looking for coffee. It gave us a great idea for a business. I'm not going to tell you all what that is because it might be a couple of years before I can do it. Yeah. But
we're out. Like, I ground all that remaining of it is enough for...
You're kidding me.
Is enough for another one of these and a small French press. That's it.
So we do have coffee for
tomorrow.
The morning? Okay. Oh, no, like we'll have to run out today and
Yeah.
get more coffee because if
Well, Walmart, well, no, I think it was ground at Walmart, the espresso, because it was $18 for one of the big bags, but I think it was ground.
I'm still drinking that bougie coffee, ladies and gentlemen, I can't find a coffee that I actually like. You know, we've
Still,
tried.
we're looking for coffee suggestions.
We've tried a couple coffees, but I wanted to do some
One
short.
tasted like dirt and pine trees.
Had a lot of, it was really acidic. But I wanted to do those short videos for our channel about some coffee reviews and stuff. We wanted to do that stuff. But one of the problems that we have with doing that is our camera. Like, we don't have a real good camera or a gimbal to, like a handheld gimbal. We don't even have one of those handheld gimbals that we can film stuff.
At the open mic night the other night, we need one of those tripods that held the phone. That's
No,
what we
we've
need.
got one.
Oh, does that do it?
Yeah, it will hold our
Oh,
phone and everything, but like, it's huge. It's a 4-foot tripod, you know. So
We might. Oh shit.
yeah,
We might have to like prop it up on something. To do
actually,
it.
it'll go shorter,
No,
I'm sure,
like,
but
like if we use this at its shortest level, and
yeah,
then just the cup
yeah. Oh yeah.
propped up, like
Yeah.
on a box or something.
So we've got a lot of ideas. It's just implementing those ideas and trying to get poor people shit to work together, you know, because we have some equipment and it's expensive as equipment. It's just purpose built for what we're doing with it. Like podcast, like, you know, we've only got a 10-foot cord on that camera and there's not a whole lot of, I can't drag the PC around with it. You know, we could put it on a laptop, but then what kind of computing powers laptop got?
Yeah.
You know, and so there are some things that we got planned out and we want to work on, but we're in this for the long haul. So stick with us, folks, and you'll get a good product eventually. You know, like I don't think we're doing too bad, you know.
And share, like, and subscribe to us. If you don't know how to subscribe, like on YouTube, you have to sign in and create an account. And then you just hit that little subscribe button, and then you can hit the bell, and it'll send you notifications for when we post a new
Absolutely.
episode.
Absolutely, and I had to learn to do that when I was, I got YouTube Premium for us, and I had to learn how to do all that stuff because I found a lot of channels that I like to watch, and man, there's an abundance of documentaries on YouTube, and it's crazy awesome. You know, because obviously we have to pay for the premium now, but everybody can watch that stuff for free.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to watch it with ads. And I think that's really, really neat that we have that available these days.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple guests coming up.
We got a very busy weekend.
One that I'm really excited about, you know, we're going to bring in a local comedian, Dan Rathman. We're going to bring him in on Sunday and do some recording with him. And hopefully, knock on wood, we'll get to record with my brother this afternoon. And we're moving right along. We're only 2 months into this thing, and we're in it for the long haul. So if we're promising you things like short form videos, we're going to have that eventually, you know. This is only episode, like, I think we're going to put this out on
12.
Friday. So it's like episode 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
Pick a number.
we've got a long weekend of recording. We're going to do this weekend, but you know,
So don't ask us for anything this weekend because we can't do it. We're too busy.
well, by the time they see this, our weekend's going to be over.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We
So-
have Caleb's birthday dinner tonight.
Man, you know, one of those things that we were going to do was we were going to babysit today, and I'm kind of upset that we're not going to get to babysit.
Yeah, you know we're talking about you.
You know who we're talking about. You know, I'm very upset that we don't get to babysit.
I haven't bragged at work about it.
I was looking forward to that. You know, I was like, hey, gonna have a baby this Saturday, you know, and I had a couple snacks planned out, a couple movies picked out. Because you got to sit out here obviously and work, and so I was gonna hang out in the house with the baby and watch some movies, eat some snacks, and enjoy my time with, you know, the 4-year-old and well,
yeah, because
Sully's going to be here today. No, he's not. He's going to go to the World of Oddities Expo in Kansas City today. And shout out to them. I wanted to go, but
It's right up Sully's alley.
I'm not going to make it because I don't work all weekend. Which is a great thing for me to say. I'm so happy that I get to say I got to work all weekend. I did work. I didn't work yesterday, but I worked all week long. And I worked on the podcast yesterday. But I've worked all week long, and I get to work with you on the weekend. And this is exciting. I love this job. You know, this is my favorite job in the world. But that's because I'm the boss, you know, the big boss man.
Yeah.
I say that.
We had something exciting happen yesterday. We finally got our copyright certificate.
Yeah,
for our logos.
We had to wait. How long ago did you put that in? Like November, October? October.
Yeah.
I think it was like October.
September and October.
Yeah. So we waited for like, what was this, March? No,
Yeah.
February. What
February.
month is it?
February.
It's February.
So
Couldn't even remember
like
what the hell
5
month it
months.
is. 5 months for copyright. We put in for our copyrights on our logos, and
So they are protected.
they were protected before.
Yeah.
That we didn't actually have to copyright those. They were protected before because
Well, we just took an extra layer of protection.
absolutely. We so we sent in the paperwork to the copyright office, which was done over the internet, and we had to wait for the snail mail for our certifications and everything. And they said it was just going to be like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. It took like 5 months. So the copyright office is apparently backlogged.
Yeah. Well, we did send a lot of images.
And we sent like 6 of them. So,
Yeah.
and we have more. But those are the ones that we wanted to use right away. And we're actually not using some of them. Oh, thank you, Ashley.
I could just see that flopping out.
Oh, yeah, that'd be-
coffee grounds everywhere.
It would have been funny. It would have been a disaster. This thing is like $200,
Yeah.
you know, so
Maybe we should insure.
I've thought about it many times because it's out here in the garage and could get accidents do happen.
Yeah.
So, well, I think I want to wrap this up for today. I say for today, but I've got a lot of recording to do today. I want to wrap this thing up. We've been talking about the jobs, and do you want to give some tips before we bring this to a close? What to do for your application and might kind of make it better, even though we've kind of went over some of that stuff already.
Yeah.
But
So one of the most important thing is to make sure it's filled out correctly. Make sure you're capitalizing your first and last name. Not everything
Absolutely.
like. I understand that that's not a big deal, but it's more professional.
it
when you
is a
do
big
that.
deal for the people looking at it. It
Yeah.
really is. You don't think of it as a big deal, but like simple spelling mistakes turn me
Yes.
off. You may not be a stupid person, but if you're misspelling simple words and I see that, I am a stupid person.
Yeah. And
So if I can see that that's misspelled and I'm like, every once in a while it's like, oh, they must be a terrible speller. But if you get an application full of spelling mistakes, I'm not even going to look at it.
Well, and if you're uploading a resume, make sure your resume's updated. You don't know how many times I've seen a resume attached to an application and it's the person's got a different last name or they have a different address on their resume
Right.
or they've listed jobs on there that aren't on the application, you
Right.
know. So that's one of the big things. And then
If you're going to send in a resume, keep it relevant to the job you're
Yeah.
seeking,
Yeah.
and change
like
that
on your
resume.
objective on your resume shouldn't, like if you're applying for a gas station job, you shouldn't put my objective is to obtain a position at this company as a secretary,
Right, because you're
like,
not going to be a
make it relevant.
secretary at the gas station. Make it relevant to the job that you're looking for, and don't, you can customize your resume for each job that you're applying for. Just don't forget to do that because it's very handy. You can, you don't have to put, if you've got, 20 jobs this year, don't write down all of them. Write down the best ones,
Well, and so if you get picked for an interview, make sure you're early. I'm not talking like an hour,
if you're
half
early,
an hour.
on time, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah,
I go by that a lot because I got fired. I get terminated for a job for being late.
Yeah. You know, you don't know what parking's going to be like. You don't know what traffic's going to be like. You don't know how long it's going to take you to get into
Absolutely.
that person to check in for your interview.
Absolutely.
Always be early. And
at the least, it gives them a better judgment of who you might be.
Yeah.
When you're coming to employ, you know, like 15. Don't show up like an hour and a half early. That's kind of ridiculous. But
yeah, because you're going to wait there an hour and a half.
10, 15 minutes early. Yeah.
So
I always try to be 15 minutes early for everything, at least, you know, and that to me is on time. If I'm 15 minutes early, well, at least that's on time.
And then when you start the job, you need to get there on time or early too to make a good impression. I'm just going to throw that out there because you wouldn't believe the amount of people that start and they're late.
In my opinion, if your job starts at 7 a.m., you should be there ready to work. Or if it starts at 7 a.m., you should be there ready to work. Ready to work at 6:55. You should be ready to start working at 6:55. You know, you should be waiting to work. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If your job starts at, if you got to be there at 7, you know, and that if your job starts at 7, that means your job starts at 7. You're supposed to be there ready to work at 7. So show up 15, 20 minutes early. I always do. That way that way you're not rushing around and in a hurry or angry, you know. Leave your house a few minutes early and kind of just mosey around and saunter in like you own the joint, you know. Hey, it works for me. And I've been fired from a job for being late, and I didn't like it. So if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Woo!
Hour and
oh shit!
An hour and 13 minutes.
I don't feel like it. That's a good one.
Yeah. So if we wrap this,
Ashley, I got lost again. You imagine that? So
any more coffee?